Hello everyone. Greetings from Com.Media Publishing. On 4th of April 2025, our first publication, The Grand Oxford Mystery, a destination thriller by Dr. Manjiri Prabhu, was launched at the Oxford Literary Festival in Oxford, UK. Dr. Manjiri Prabhu is an award-winning international author of 24 books, a short filmmaker, cultural advocate, and the founder-director of two prominent global platforms, the Pune International Literary Festival and the International Festival of Spiritual India for Humanity and Wisdom. A trailblazer in Indian literature, she stands as the first female mystery author from India to gain recognition beyond national borders, pioneering the realm of mystery fiction among the writers in India. Widely acknowledged as a pioneer among women writers in Indian mystery fiction, she has completed over 52 years in the world of writing. Often hailed as the Indian Agatha Christie, Dr. Prabhu is celebrated as a master storyteller whose novels feature ingenious plots, memorable characters, and evocative language. She has played a significant role in taking Indian mystery fiction to a global audience. Today, April 4th, 2026, we are thrilled to mark 1 year since the launch of the Grand Oxford Mystery. To celebrate, we are hosting 4 literary events over the week featuring insightful conversations with Dr. Manjiri Prabhu and 4 esteemed literary personalities. Our first session, Destination Thrillers, a writer's creative journey, kicks off today with Helen Smith in conversation with Dr. Prabhu. Helen Smith is a British novelist who lives in London. Her first 2 books, Alice in Wonderland and Being Light, feature Alison Temple, a private detective who works at an all-female detective agency in London. The Miracle Inspector is a dystopian thriller set in England in the near future. The Emily Castles Mysteries are entertaining mysteries featuring amateur sleuth Emily Castles. Her books have reached #1 on Amazon bestseller lists in the US, UK, Canada, and Germany. They have been praised in the Times Literary Supplement, The Guardian, Time Out, and Wired.com, and appeared on Best of the Year lists in For Book's Sake, The Cult Den, The Independent, and The Guardian. 2 of her books have been optioned by the BBC. Her story, Nana, won an International Thriller Award for Best Short Story. I now request Helen to take over.
I wanted to talk about the Grand Oxford Mystery, which I really enjoyed. It's the author calls it a destination thriller, and it's exactly that. I felt that even though I visited Oxford a couple of times myself, I felt that I learned so much about that place from reading this book. And although it's set in the modern day, it feels timeless to me. It feels like a classic mystery. It's got everything that you would want and expect and hope for in a classic mystery. So it's got some red herrings, it's got some twists and turns, it's got amateur sleuths, it's got this investigator who has appeared in other destination thrillers by the same author. And you can feel the author's warmth towards this character, I think. The character himself is full of empathy for the people that he meets along the way. I hate getting spoilers, and I hate giving spoilers. So I don't want to say too much about what happens. I think it's safe to say, though, that there is a book within a book that leads us along the way of the mystery. And the characters themselves say that the puzzles themselves are not supposed to be too difficult to solve. It's not so much about solving the puzzles, it's about understanding why those puzzles have been set in the first place. And what's clever about this is that each of the puzzles and the clues that we get lead us to a different part of Oxford, and we explore those parts of Oxford along with the characters. And so I would really like to talk to the author now about how she came up with those characters, the destination, what a destination thriller is. So Manjiri, can I talk to you now about the book and about how you came to write it, please?
Hello, Helen. Thank
So
you so much for that beautiful summary of the book and your analysis. Very lovely and just so apt. Thank you very much.
I really, really enjoyed reading it. It's and it's interesting when you know someone. So you and I first met more than 10 years ago at the Agatha Christie Festival in
That's
England.
right. That 2015, if I remember well.
Oh, okay, yes, it was.
Yes.
It was just, and also, I mean, you're often referred to as India's Agatha Christie. I thought there was a very nice synchronicity that that's where we met. But when you know somebody and then you read their books, it's so interesting to reflect on. Well, I wonder how she came up with this. I wonder why she did it this way. Because in reading, you also learn something yourself about, like, oh, that's interesting to do it that way. That's so clever. So could we just talk about it? So destination thriller is really apt. What does that mean to you when you talk, because you've written more than one of them, you've written quite a few of them.
Yeah, yeah. So usually when any person bases a book in a place, it's more like a touristy offering of that place. You go there, you base a book there. Things happen around the place, not inside the place. And my purpose was to introduce that destination like actually a character. It's like the center pole of a tent. If you remove that pole, the tent collapses. So similarly, if I remove the destination from my thrillers, there is no thriller, because it's made out of the destination. The story is born in the soil of that destination. The plot grows there. It's not like I think of a plot somewhere and I base it in a place. So it's actually not just inspired, but it what should I say, it just, yeah, literally born in that place. And along with that, it's not just about the place, it's about the lifestyle, it's about the architecture, the culture, the monuments. I don't want people to just look at them and say, hey, how beautiful. I want them to go beyond that and understand the engravings on the wall, what's there in a museum there, and those also become characters. So the whole purpose is to give you an inside view of a place without actually going there. And for me, it's important because I'm an Indian. I love traveling. I love writing. And my purpose is just to bring the world a little bit closer to the Indians.
I mean, that's one of the joys of reading, isn't it? Is that you either discover somewhere and you think, that's going on my list, I would love to go there, or you say to yourself, I'm never going to be able to go to
Yes.
go there, but here I've got a really good insight into what it would be like, along with the characters. So what, and also what you said about it has to be set there, otherwise it would be different. It's true, isn't it? When you're writing, if you could take a character away, then you don't need that character. And there's a real sense when you read that it couldn't have been set anywhere else. That you bring in so many details from the places, as you mentioned, the museums, even engravings and things that you've seen
Yeah.
there, that you've woven into the story. I was interested. So do you go about it by thinking, I would really like to set a book in Oxford, so I'm going to go there? Or do you go to Oxford and think, oh wow, this has to be my next book? Do you have a way that you go about it?
Well, with Oxford, it happened the way you mentioned it, but
Mm.
actually, all my other destination thrillers, I just personally feel that, they literally called out to me in different ways. So the first book happened in Austria, The Trail of Four. And I visited Austria and the Schloss Leopoldstraun, where the film Sound of Music was shot. I visited that place in 1998. So
Wow.
just imagine when the series actually started. In 1998, when I took the Sound of Music tour, and I went around the lake and I saw this palace in the distance, across the lake, and I said, "Oh wow, what a lovely place! I'd love to go there and see, if I can base a story there." As it happened in 2000, I went inside the palace, as a part of a seminar, and I realized this place has to be in a book. But I didn't write the book then. Cut forward to 2012, when I really started, thinking about basing, I mean, deliberately and actively going to the palace, staying there, and writing a book there. So, what I mean to say is, this was just a prelude to the other destinations calling me, but one way or the other, I get either feelers, messages, videos, calls, invites to actually be in those places where I can research and then build a plot or a story around it. With Oxford, what happened was I was there in March 2024, I think, yeah, 2024, at the Oxford Literary Festival to launch another book of mine, which was Mystery of the Portuguese Hearts and Legend of the Snow Queen. And by that time, I'd finished the four books in the series, and I was wondering which should be the next destination. And I was standing in front of the Radcliffe camera and doing a video of me saying the exact same thing. Can it be Oxford? Can Oxford be the next destination thriller? And there was this wind which picked up around me and whirled around me with the leaves, swirling around me. And I said, "Oh my God, is this some kind of a message?" But I mean, that was just a way, well, the universe probably spoke to me, which only I understood. Obviously, no one would have noticed it. But it set me thinking, and I realized that I was really fascinated by Oxford. I mean, and who wouldn't be? You're here in this 500-plus-year-old university with colleges, multiple colleges, and where famous authors have actually lived and taught and written. And the tiny cobbled lanes, and just the beauty and the spirit of academics and mystery and religion, and everything that comes together in a very, very beautiful way. And I thought, well, if I don't base a mystery here, I would just be incomplete as an author, because, and other than that, also, I grew up reading Enid Blyton books and Agatha Christie. And England, to me, is a kind of a, how should I say it? It's like uh, it's a place where I would dream to write a book, because I've grown up in those lanes. I mean, I've grown up with Famous Five and Five Find Outers, cycling through the village lanes and drinking lemonade and scones. And I said, well, here's my opportunity to base a book here, and just to get a slice of English life, and that's really how it all started. As it happened, I did write the book and went back to the Oxford Literary Festival to launch it again. So yes, this is how it's destined to happen. Otherwise, it's just not possible to go to a country which is not your own, to find a place, to do research, to bring in the art, history, culture, everything into a plot and make it a plausible thriller. So I feel that, yeah, I'm meant to write these books, and the destinations do call out to me.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And obviously, I mean, it takes a long time to write a book, and then you go through and you edit it. So you have to be in love with somewhere. You have
Yes,
to, and there is that sense that you have fallen in love with this destination, and you invite us to fall in love with it as well.
yes, yes,
And that really comes through. And the same thing, I think, with your main character. Um, Ray Parker. I just feel this, famously, Agatha Christie's just got really sick of Poirot, who
yeah,
obviously was
yeah,
rather was
yeah,
rather fussy character. So there are no similarities between the character.
yeah.
Whereas your investigator here, he's warm, he's insightful. I wondered if where he came from. Was he based on somebody that you knew? Is he somebody that you would like to know, and so you came up with him? Where did he come from in your imagination?
Well, as you perfectly said it, I would like to know Ray.
Ah,
I would love to meet a man like Ray. And I keep saying this in all my sessions that I wanted to create the perfect man, I think. And that's how I created Ray, with his
yeah.
flaws, of course. But I think Ray came out of my desire to meet the perfect man. And well, that's my personal story. But honestly, I actually saw Ray in a vision. I was somewhere, I just once had this vision of a man standing by a lake with his back to me, in a ponytail, in a leather jacket with pockets and all, and looking out across the lake at a mountain, which later out turned to be the Salzburg Global Seminar, with I mean the in
Wow.
Austria, where I based the first book. But that's when I saw that, and I realized that there is this character who really wants to be born, and I saw him, and I started developing him, and I realized that I'd already created two female detectives, and I thought it was time to bring in, a male detective now, and I wanted him to be more realistic, in the sense of emotionally realistic than quirky. Like Hercule Poirot has his, quirks, his gray cells working, and his arrogance, and he's a little over the top sometimes,
Yeah.
flashing his intelligence and all that. Whereas I wanted Ray to be more of an internal person. He's an introvert in the sense that he likes to work with energies, believes in vibrations, and can sense whether a person is good or bad, that kind of a thing. And that's how Ray was actually born, out of a desire to have an intense but a compassionate person who can actually feel for criminals as well as non-criminals. So there's a fine line in his life, and he can always, he can always sympathize with everyone concerned, and have a balanced view of a crime committed, in the sense he's not going to be judgmental about why it was done and all. He's very balanced in how it is possible to commit a crime and what are the situations that can happen. He can understand the workings, the psychological workings probably of a criminal mind. So he's not harsh. He's very controlled, and he knows that things can happen and things can go wrong. And I think that's how I wanted Ray to be. Very calm, controlled, tranquil, but very intense and deep inside.
And he also has an affinity for dogs as well, which I know is
Yes.
something close to your heart. I
Yes.
smiled when I saw that, when a dog appeared in the story.
Yes. So that's really something that happened along the way. I'll tell you why. Because I never intended for Ray to have a dog, to be very honest. Because he's moving around Europe solving mysteries. Where would he keep
Yeah.
a dog? I mean, practically speaking, as an
Yeah.
author. But in book three, which is The Legend of the Snow Queen, Ray falls madly in love. I mean, very madly. And without giving away too much, he's heartbroken. And it's a part
Right.
of the mystery, of course, but he's heartbroken. And I thought that in the next book, which is Mystery of the Portuguese Hearts, he would come out of it. But he didn't. He didn't. And I realized that for a man who's so uh, now kind of so self-absorbed and grieving in a way for a lost love, not lost in lost sense, but a mystery lost love. How do I bring him back to track again? Because he was just feeling too sorry for himself, and he's an investigator. He needs to be all out there to solve mysteries. And this also happened very strangely. I was wondering what could bring him back, and the place where I was staying in Oxford, the hotel I was staying. The moment I entered the hotel room, will you believe what I saw on the walls? There was a picture of a dog in a Sherlock Holmes caps, a framed pic on two sides of the room. On two walls of the room. And it struck me as so odd, because you don't find a dog picture in a kind of a detective hat somewhere in a hotel room. I mean, that's really, I mean, I've never come across, I've lived in so many hotel rooms, but I've never seen, you see ladies, you see landscapes, you see flower vases, you see so many things, but never a dog in a Sherlock Holmes cap. And
Yeah.
that was my first hint that maybe this means something more than, just a picture on a wall. If that wasn't enough, there was an exhibition going on at in Oxford at that time, in the Western Library, and that was the Kafka Museum. It was the Kafka's celebration. I think it was 100 years of Kafka or something like that. And so I went around it, and the one book that caught my eye was called Investigations of a Dog. And and I said, okay, this is it. It's time for a dog to enter Ray's life, because it makes sense. If a man is grieving, I know from personal experience that a dog can bring about many changes in you. It can help you heal. It can help you get better in many ways. And I realized that for someone like Ray, who's such an intense person and such a deep person, a dog would bring that shift from his deep grief to, or deep heart loss, to now common balanced ground. And that's how I thought it was time to bring in Archie. And well, Archie has a role to play, as you know. He's just not a prop. He's got a
Yeah.
bigger role to play in the book. But one of the roles is also to heal. Even Archie is grieving, so it's to help both of them, move on in life. I think that's the big connection is that they're going to help each other in the long run.
Yes, it's so interesting, and it's really interesting hearing you talk, because you're talking about, signs perhaps from the universe about, yes, set it here. You look, and there's a dog in a Sherlock Holmes cap, and you're thinking, yeah, this means something. So it's quite interesting to know. I'd be interested to know, like, how you write, the actual process, because it sounds as if you're very much open to. Well, let me ask you how. I mean, there's the practicalities of, like, do you have a notebook? Do you write longhand? Do you do it on the computer? Obviously, it eventually gets onto the computer, and also how you take your inspiration, because you've talked a little bit about how you got some inspiration for this book as you went along.
Yeah.
So could you talk me about, you're going to start a book. What do you actually do? How do you write it?
Yes, I know. I mean, I'm sure you have your own process too, which I would also love to know. But I basically make a lot of notes.
Yeah,
I don't write longhand, but I do make a lot of notes.
yeah.
And being I've been, surrounded by media. I was a short filmmaker. We made a feature film. So the visual medium plays a big role in my life too. So
Yeah.
I take a lot of pictures. I record. If some idea strikes me, I record a bit. But
Mm,
basically, especially for the destination thrillers, I do have to go to the destination to
mm,
actually have the plot. And once I go there, I do a lot of research. I mean, you can imagine. I mean, you yourself must be doing a lot of research for your books. But I think with the destination thriller, what really uh, matters to me is how can I soak myself into the spirit of the place. And for
mm,
that, I do a lot of walking, tremendous walk amount. Like, for example, for the Oxford book, I used to start at 9 in the morning and take different paths around the town, from 9 in the morning to 9 in the evening. And every time I discovered something different, and
yeah.
and the purpose was to uncover something which isn't very commonly known. I mean, there's
Mm,
no point writing about the Humphreys Library where everyone knows about it, and the Radcliffe Camera. I mean, these are iconic spots anyway. I wanted to
mm,
go beyond that. So my research is where my whole process actually starts.
mm,
Uh, for the destination thrillers, and then of course the idea is born within my research. And then I for me as a mystery writer, I think I need to have all the pieces in place. So I do write out the plot. I make sure that I have, because as you know, being a mystery writer yourself, you do know that we have to have multiple layerings and red herrings and everything to keep the surprise element of surprise alive, because that's the purpose of the book, to take it all towards a finale without the reader guessing who did it. So I work along that, and I'm anywhere where I'm not happy, or where I feel that this is too obvious, or this is giving away too much, or whatever that happens along my scribblings of the plot, and the plot grows there. Once I'm ready with that, then I actually start writing, which is on the laptop. And even if along the way while I'm writing, you said that I allow a lot to nature. That's before I start writing the book. After I start writing the book, I do not allow anything to interfere. No
yeah.
characters can take over the plot, and no characters can start distracting me with ideas. So I have everything in place. If something does kind of strike as odd or too easy or whatever, I step back from the whole thing and allow it to rest a bit, and then go back to it. But basically, I need it all in place before I actually attempt to write out the book. What about you? Tell me yours. I'm very curious to hear your side.
Yeah, I always need to know beginning, middle, and end. I probably don't. I'm probably somewhere in the middle of people who have a very firm outline with absolutely everything
Yeah,
planned, and people who astonish me, but who do it where they just say, "I just start writing, and I just see what comes out." So that I would just be terrified,
me
as you
too.
say, of being derailed somehow.
Yes, yes,
But
yeah,
like you, I think you soak it all in, and there's a strange point when you're trying to get the story working where everything seems relevant almost,
yeah,
where you're just thinking, wow, this is about my book,
yeah,
so you become almost quite self-absorbed, and you're just thinking, wow, I could use that, and it's this heightened sense of awareness, isn't it?
yeah, yeah,
But then you and I perhaps are similar in that sense, but then
yes,
you'll also talk to other people who are like, oh no, it's just not quite just business, but no, I just sit down, I write, there's nothing mystical about it. Whereas
that's right.
it feels that writing comes from within, but it also comes from somewhere. I
Yeah,
get the impression with you that you feel like that.
yeah. But I think it also depends on the complexity of the plot.
Yeah.
If the plot is complex, layered, and there are multiple streams within the plot, then you need to be prepared. You need to be prepared before you start writing.
Yes.
And for those people who are actually just start off, probably have one single. I'm just assuming,
Yes.
because if you have multiple complex a
Yeah.
plot which is hugely layered, I don't see how you can start writing it
Yeah.
without being prepared, in every single way. So I guess each one has their own process. Yeah.
Yes. So some people say, oh, the first draft is always going to be awful. Whereas I feel that the actually, if you do enough work beforehand, the first draft will be fine. It always will need rewriting and revising. Do
Yeah.
you then, because you've done so much work beforehand, because you've locked it all down,
Yeah.
find then that the first draft actually comes fairly easily to you, and the final version will look very much like that, but you just will tweak it or work on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I feel that my first draft is pretty good.
Hmm.
I mean, it's not my basic thing is people write a lot and then edit it down. Like they'll write a
Mm,
lakh of words and then bring it down to
mm,
80,000. I
yes.
don't work that way. I write the basic stuff first. I write out
Mm,
the whole story first. My entire plot, everything goes into place, and then I build on it. For
mm,
example, I'll build on the descriptions, or I'll build on the basic thing is all in place. So I don't have to cut down, I have to add to it. So I
yes.
know if this is going to go to 80,000 words, I write about, say, 70,000 words. That's not so logically, but
Mm.
it's the reverse for me. Like other than the others, they all bring it down and I build it up. So yeah, I mean, and that no, what was your question? I lost it, I think.
Yeah, that was the question really,
Yeah,
was
yeah,
do you feel that you're having done all that preparation work,
yeah,
do you
yeah.
then feel that that first draft is in
Yes.
good
Yeah, it's
shape?
in good shape. And then I just, maybe language wise, then I will work on it, because,
Mm,
I don't worry about the language while I'm writing. It's after the thing is all in place, and then I will go back, take a bit of rest, and then the second draft will be more about language corrections and polishing it a bit, and better descriptions and a better
mm,
word, that kind of a thing. But the first draft is basically almost 80% done for me. It's 20% tweaking, and for the second draft. I think the third one is the final one for me. I mean, I know that people work for 10 drafts and 11 drafts, and I don't have the patience for that, because I've done a lot of work before I actually start writing. So then for me is just to get it out of me now, and put it all out there. Otherwise, I'll be frustrated if it all doesn't come out, and there's too much in my head. And I when I write, I'm really so involved. I mean, I'm sure you will understand that I'm so involved that for me the rest of the world and the outside world does not matter. My everything in my house is a mess. I don't cook, I don't go out, I'm just writing, and I'm happy doing it. It's not like it's a task for me. I just enjoy that me time, and I enjoy the the connecting with the characters, and I enjoy the whole growing with the book so much. I love every bit of it, but it's so exhausting. By the time I finish, I know that I'm done with this. There is no chance for me to go back and keep tweaking 1,000 times. That's just not for me. I'm done. I just bring it all out and polish it and clean it, and that's it. And honestly, with all these mystery novels, I feel the plot is the most important bit. The characters are also important. The laying out is important, but the language is actually comes somewhere in the third or fourth layer for me, because I think the most important point is the way the book can hold a reader, engrossed in it, in the complexity of the plot. I'm sure the reader doesn't see if there's a typo here or this. If you're engrossed in a mystery novel, the typo will go by without even, I don't think that's important, even if there is a typo. I feel that the story has to really suck the reader in, and my effort is for that. And while I'm doing that, I'm sucked in so much as well, that when I let go, I really let go. I have a big long cry after the book is over. I'm like, tears are flowing, and it's a relief, it's excitement, it's happiness and joy. So I don't know how you do it, but I'm sure it must be the same. The feeling of having done something to the best of your capacity.
Yeah, it's interesting, and also knowing when it's done, isn't it? I think with your first book,
Yeah.
you almost, for me, I perhaps worked on it almost too long, because you're not sure. You want to get it published, but and so whereas I think now you just know it's never going to be perfect, but it has to be as
Yes.
close as you can get it to
Yes.
perfect, and then
Yes.
it's done. I think, and also, you don't want to just say, "Oh, that's fine, that's good enough." No, nobody ever
Yeah.
feels like that. It's
Yeah.
it's
True.
it's hugely important to get it right, isn't it? Um,
Yes.
yeah, but it's interesting. I think you have to find out how you write almost before you listen to advice, because a lot of advice out there is like, "Oh, just write the first. It doesn't matter what the first draft looks like." And I think
That's right.
for you and I, it's like, "Oh no, the first draft has to be really
Yeah.
good."
That's right.
For
Yeah.
me, I would be
Absolutely.
really discouraged to read it through and just think, but this is awful. Instead of
Yes.
thinking, you need to think like, this is really good. I just need to make it better.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
So yeah, no, so exactly. Yeah, I mean, I just think it's really interesting because everyone writes slightly differently, and it's so fascinating to
Yeah.
learn how you do that. So do you say to yourself, I'm going to write because you're really busy. I mean, you're not just doing this, but also you organize
Yeah.
the literary festival, which would take a huge amount of work. So
Yes.
do you allocate a certain number of hours a day, or do you just say, I'm just going to write until it's finished? How do you manage your time? Because as you say, you can say to yourself, I'm not going to bother with housework. I'm just going to write. But
Yeah.
still need to. So do you say like 2 hours, 5 hours, however long?
Yeah, I unfortunately I'm not as disciplined as that. Even if I say I want to write 5 hours a day, I'm never going to do it. I think I just have to be in the right frame of mind. And what I tell myself is that, okay, these are your months of writing. Let's say
Yeah,
March, April
yeah,
is how you're going to do it. And then I start mentally telling myself, okay, your writing time is approaching, your writing time is approaching. And then when it actually happens, then I sit and write. But I don't do the 1,000 words a day and 2,000 words a day
no,
thing.
right,
That's just not for me, because, like you said, there are other things in life. I have my family, my dogs, my lit fest, and so many other things. I need to travel. We're promoting other books. I'm attending lit fest and all that. So sit down and write regularly is a luxury I can't afford, and I don't know even if I want that luxury, because I'm happy devoting a certain monthly and weekly time when I decide to actually sit down and write. And normally I do write a book in about 2 months, the first draft at least. So I decide that, okay, March, April are my months, or I say August, September are my months. I say December, January are my months, and I usually try to bring out 2 books a year. So those are the months I keep for myself, and then that's the time when I'm unapproachable, and I don't do anything else but write. But yeah, but the thing is that I tell myself, I mean, I prepare myself for those months. and I tell myself that this is your time and this is what you're going to do. So it's almost as good as conditioning myself for the writing time which is coming. But writing every day is just not for me. I'm just not disciplined enough, and I have to build the mood. I have to be in touch with nature. I have to go for walks. I have to be with myself. All that comes along with that writing, the monthly writing schedule that I plan. So yeah, that's how I do it. It's just not possible for me to do a daily job. I know that it improves your language, and it's like a exercise that you do for your. I understand all that, but it's just not for me.
Yeah, again, that's really interesting. And I think for people who, because I think another common piece of writing advice is like, you must write every day. If you
Yeah,
can't write 1,000 words, write 500.
yeah,
And then when you see that actually a successful author doesn't write like that, actually
no,
is saying, and I think as soon as you start to tell yourself, I should do this. Most
yeah,
people start writing, don't they, because they enjoy it, love of reading
yeah,
or whatever. Once you take the joy out of it, you
yeah.
just, why would you, why would
I
you?
know.
You have to be disciplined. I mean, you are disciplined because you get the work done, but it's how you do it. It's so
Yeah.
interesting.
You
Um,
have to be, you have, like you said, you have to enjoy the process of
it's,
writing. It's like you being with, you have to love to be with your characters and the story you're developing. There's no point getting bored halfway through, because then the manuscript is finished, before it's done. So yeah, the process of enjoyment is as important as the process of writing. So yeah, that's, I think so. Writing daily doesn't work, I guess.
Yeah, and also I think that to read, in the end, readers want to be entertained. They might learn
Yes.
something. They might feel sad. They might feel emotions, but ultimately, it's a form of entertainment. And I think that
Yeah.
you can tell if somebody's grinding it out, but you can
Yeah.
also tell if somebody has fallen in love. As I said when I was reading it, I thought, oh, you've fallen in love with Oxford. You love
Yeah.
Oxford.
Yeah.
And that, I think it's important to feel that joy, or if it's a sad book, to feel that intense emotion, or that,
Yeah.
rather than that, just here's something that's competent, that works okay, but I didn't feel any connection.
Yeah.
I think by connecting to the characters, the author connecting to the characters and the place,
Right.
um, helps the reader to connect, because ultimately it's a dialogue, isn't it, between you and the reader. Um,
Absolutely.
so I'm wondering, is there something else now brewing? What's next for you? Is there something that you're working on or that you're thinking about?
I am actually, because I've done 5 books in the series and I want them to continue. But right now, given the situation in the world, I don't know which part of the world is safe to travel right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I have to keep this on hold for a while till everything clears up. But yes, of course, I do have a couple of destinations in mind, and with I've been looking up the history and doing my basic groundwork first. But yeah, sometime next year, I guess the next book will hopefully be out. And I don't know how many books are there in the series. I hope there are many, because do enjoy writing them, and I do want Ray to be, solving mysteries, and also finding his. I want him to find his love, his true love in life. Yes,
Yeah,
and I want Archie to help him find that true love.
yeah,
And because you see, Ray is a very warm, loving person, and he's gone through one heartbreak. I don't want that to be the end of his personal life. So, but she has to come naturally into his life again,
yeah.
and so it needs a couple of books more before somebody enters. So I want nice things to happen to Ray, and and create a memorable character. I mean, a loving character somewhere out there. So no matter when the books are read by whoever, they will like Ray. So yeah, so I have some plans for Ray as well.
Oh, that's lovely. That's really good to hear. I'm certainly going to look forward to that. It's yes, somewhere that character is waiting for him. You just need to create
Yes,
create that
yes,
person.
yes, yeah. And it's the point is that Ray's journey is also my journey. I mean, he started from book 1, and he's growing and I'm growing along with him because I keep adding elements to him. Like, we do the best part of us writing a series is that you get an opportunity to build on your character. It all doesn't have to be crammed into one book.
Yeah.
It's things are happening and unfolding, and things are happening in his life, and he's learning, and I know what what to add on to his life to make it more interesting and a rich experience for him as well. So yeah, so I'm loving growing with Ray, and I'm loving it that I've created this character, even if I'm saying it. But I'm enjoying this detective, and I'm wondering, and I literally, you won't believe it, I do speak to Ray quite often, and I do ask him, what do you want to do next, and why am I here, what do you plan to do here. There are these kind of conversations I do have with Ray, whether it was in Oxford or Portugal or wherever, and he has supplied answers. So by, of course, means of the natural means of messages and all that, which by now that I believe in.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so yeah, so it's, for me, it's a interesting journey as well, and I want some more books in his life, some more books that will take his life forward. So let's see what happens next, but yeah, I'll leave it to God.
And and a final question. So, to me, even though it's part of a series, because it's the way it's set in Oxford, it reads like a standalone book. And
Yeah,
I'm wondering if somebody hasn't read any of the others before,
yeah. Mm.
can they start with this one?
Yeah,
I,
sure.
yeah,
They're not connected in any way.
yes,
It helps if they read book one and then book two and then book
yeah,
three, of course, but it doesn't mean that there are no linking factors from book
yes.
one to it's not like a connected series in that way. So definitely anybody can pick up this book and enjoy it for its own, for its as a standalone book. Yes.
Yeah, and I got that impression that again, we were talking about with writing, you don't want to feel you should do this or you should do that. So if
Yeah.
somebody likes the sound of this and
Yeah.
hasn't read your other books,
Yeah.
rather than thinking, oh, I should, I should read them in order,
Yeah.
I felt like, well, if that speaks to you, if you want to, join him in Oxford, do that, and then maybe go back and explore the others.
That's
So that's I'm glad you I'm glad you
yeah.
feel that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, it's been great to talk to you. It's been so good to see your face, and to 'cause we've met a few times over the years, but it's really good to see you and to talk about the book, and to celebrate with you for a year since the launch. Yeah,
But it's been
thank,
amazing talking to you, Helen. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you read the book. You
yes,
liked it. Thank you.
great, and let's hope we meet again along the way.
Definitely. That I'm going to make sure of. We've missed each other in London this time,
Yes,
and both the times I came there, but definitely we're going to catch up.
next time.
And at some lit fest, our paths will cross for sure.
Yes, yes. Okay, fabulous.
Thank you. Yeah. Bye bye.
All right, bye bye.